What is going on? My name is D-Rock or Bobby or whatever you want to call me. And today I wanted to break down my remix of Careful What You Wish For by Bad Omens. Sumerian Records hosted a remix competition, and I decided, I was like, hey, this looks like fun. And so I wanted to break down the remix that I did. If you're not familiar with the original song, it's something like this. So it's got that that hard rock ballad thing going on. It's really cool, and then some of their stuff, I think it's dethroned and it goes like super heavy. This is my remix here. You can listen to it on the Sumerian Records page. Let's dive in and look at what's going on here. So I broke this down kind of into 5 sections. So using the blocks up here, I'm just using them for labeling. Block 1 is the kind of intro outro thing. It's pretty chilled out. Block 2 kind of has a lot of the same thing going on. It's just with vocals, so I'd call that more of the verse. Block 3 use the acapella chorus section for the build-up. And then there's 2 different drops. There's the first drop that's kind of chill step-ish. And then the second drop that's more like standard dubstep, bro step style. So yeah, I'm going to break down some production techniques, some sound design stuff, and let's just dive right in. So let's just go right to the intro. So for the intro, I used their stem called Prog, which I believe is which they probably shortened down from programming, because it's the program synth that's going on in the background. And then compositionally, I used a piano with some chords and mimicking the same line. It's actually Radical. I think this is Radical Piano, which I don't use a ton of, but I like it a lot actually. And then that same line is being used on the synth patch, which is using Antidote. Which Antidote is a phenomenal synth. It's got a nice warmth to it that something like Serum does not have. There's an ARP going on. There's a kind of a soft pulsing bass that slowly fades in over time, and then once the drums come in, there's a bit of a heavier bass that happens right here. Let's listen real quick.
Only in madness do you find beautiful death, and only in sadness do you feel happy instead. Be careful what you wish for, 'cause you don't know the guilt that can.
For the vocals, rather than programming some sort of an actual delay device, I just decided to duplicate the acapella track and then offset them and have them filtered out and panned slightly.
Do you find beautiful death? Beautiful death.
I just had a bit more control over that, as well as these reverse reverbs here. Just kind of using those to swell stuff in, and then there's some impacty stuff, downlifters, uplifters, junk like that. So let's see here. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the verse and the what's called intro. Only thing I might mention is drum wise, I kind of thinned it out before it goes into the build-up, so you can see for the first 8 bars or the first 7 bars, there's the full drum beat going on. Then on the last bar, I take out the main driving kick and snare, as well as fade out this pulsing bass, and then fill up that excess space with some reverse elements, like a reverse cymbal, It's a reverse reverb here, and I think that other reverse reverb down there. Yeah, it's a fun little composition thing that I've been grooving on recently. So yeah, build up time. Like I said, I use the chorus acapella, as well as the actual guitar stem. So that glitch thing's fun. I like glitches, so I use the glitch. Yeah, it's comprised of I guess 5 sounds total. The main ones I would say are these 3 right here. There is a noisy saw bass, a synced square, and then a zap sound, as well as a bit crushed kick drum, and then the vocal that I stuttered. So for that, what I did was I automated the solos on the mixer window on and off. You can see the ones that are highlighted in, I think that's yellow. Oh, excuse me. Colorblind, so I'm assuming that's yellow. Yeah, I just automated those on and off. That way it would jump back and forth, and it would chop off any sort of extra reverb tail hanging on from, like that or from that. It'll chop that off and go right into having that sound soloed. So I really like being able to do that within reason. I don't think you can do something like that in Pro Tools without some external plugin. Cool. So now the more build-up-y part. I use the actual drums, because these drums, they sound phenomenal. They're huge sounding. Whoever recorded them did a phenomenal job. They sound great. Kick drum here, that's in audio rather than within Kong, just because having more control over the tails as it gets faster and faster and faster, then just high passing it slightly. Then this stuff up here. So I automated the master level to go down over the course of the overall build-up. It's probably not good practice, but I don't care. I like it. Yeah, so it slowly gets a little bit quieter. That way, when the actual drop hits, it's got a bit more intensity due to the volume difference. And then this stereo, I think it's this kilohertz stereo. I'm just automating the width downwards. That way it gets more and more mono until it's like the last bar where it sweeps back into to the full stereo spectrum. So let's listen to that real quick. Don't wait for the dust to settle. Don't wait till you've had enough. Don't wait for the world to let go or to give you up. So you can hear it gets a bit more mono, and then for when where is it? For when this snare hit comes in, it's nice and big and wide, and then fully wide for that first chord hit. So let's look at this drop. It's a pretty standard Chillstep drop. Yeah, drum-wise, super simple. Sorry, sometimes these solos can make things a little bit weird. So I think the coolest thing about the actual drums would be layering that weird woodblock percussive sound with an actual dubstep snare. They're both going through a scream, so they get kind of crunched together. Let's look at the super saws. So these guys. And stuff still soloed. There it is. So I believe this is Expanse with the Serum Effects. It's a standard super saw, saw wave, whole bunch of detuning. I think I used Dimension Expander, OTT, and then a tiny lift on the high end. And I think these are just kind of doing triad-y type things that are just kind of spread out a bit more with like octaves below. And then let's see here. Beneath that, there is a noise bass. So it's probably a saw wave with noise that gets distorted together. Yeah, noise, saw wave, distortion. Yeah, your standard fill out, a bit of low end, and some extra power and some extra crunch. There is a sub bass down here. It's a standard sine wave, and I'm just automating the volume on it. And this guy up here. So this I'm kind of using as like my alternate note to give the chords a new timbre or texture. It's kind of like if you think like music theory. Like here's an F minor or an F major triad. If you add the seventh in, it adds a bit more emotion and kind of moodiness to it. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm using this synth as that high note to add the emotion in on top of this chord here. And then I'm automating the pitch bend to give it a bit more of an organic sound and have it change. And then I can automate that pitch bend without automating the entire chord. Yeah, and then there's some vocal chop. Ooh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, so the way that I've got my routing, that happens sometimes. My bad. Some vocal chop things that are going on here that I stacked as well. Let's see here. So that's the vocal that I just chopped up randomly and then pitched around, like up 3, up 5, up 3 again. Some super fast stuttery things. Some reverse effects. For the actual processing on this, there's it's mostly coming from Serum Effects. Just kind of put on every single modulation option possible. A comb filter, OTT. Yeah, just wanted to get some. I just wanted some cool sound that was on these vocal chops that I smashed and pushed forward. Then I'm also doing more of this solo, these solo automations. Doing this to get a bit more of a call and a response between the big chord hits, and then either the vocal chops or I think I used a few more glitch sounds. Yeah, just kind of kind of using these chords as like the basis, and then filling in the blank spaces with cool chops and cool effects and whatnot. Yeah, so let's give part of this drop a listen. Yeah. So one thing that I will say with the whole solo on-off automation is it's nice because it will chop off like reverb tails. Like for this thing, there's a ton of echo reverb that just hangs on forever. So having the solo go on and off, it really helps push the element that you want forward. Yeah, by chopping that stuff off, by having the other thing become soloed. I did have to play around a little bit with it for the snare hits, especially because I have them offset so that that percussive sound comes in, that like wood block sound comes in just before the snare hit. So I had to play with the solo thing, the solo on-off automation from the mixer, so that way that would come through and it wouldn't get chopped off. So yeah, second verse, whole lot of the same thing of the first verse. Well, it's better than nothing. Second build up. I think it's almost exactly the same, except I added in a clap, and then there's that pitch up thing that happens here. But yeah, once again, automating the width as well as the overall master level down slightly. Cool. Now the second drop stuff. Dubstep, fake out drop thing. There's nothing too crazy going on drum wise. I think the coolest thing would be that I added in this. It's a medium pot from a sample pack that I did a while back. I think it's called Kitchen Sounds, maybe. Or is it? Okay. Maybe it's under D-Rock Kitchen Sounds. Okay, I can't find it. I'm not too worried about it. But it's there. I emptied out my kitchen cabinets one day and sampled everything. But yeah, it just gives a little bit of an extra smack. Bass sounds, which is usually the more fun things that are going on. There's really only like 3 styles of bass sounds going on in the within this drop. There's this, which I kind of call like a fuzzy growl, and then this one's super similar as well as this one. Obviously, that one's a bit more screechy, but the premise for these ones is some what's it called, FM synthesis, high notch filter, OTT, tube distortion, stuff like that. There's 1,000 tutorials on these kind of sounds. Follow one and then figure out like how you want to do it. But yeah, I just made like three or 4 of those and then alternate them back and forth to get some various what's it called, timbre changes. Beyond that, there's this screech sound right here. Once again, it's Serum, but with a... Nope, that's the wrong one. Let me jump up to you, please. Thank you. With a really, really high octave on the oscillator B, as well as a lot of the sync way up to jump it up even higher. So it gets that, that kind of screech sound versus when it's down here, where it kind of almost goes back to those other kind of what I call the fuzzy womp growl things. And then the last synth would be this one right here. So it's that like bend minus type of sound, kick tables, and then then more of this. I'm a big fan of you using the high notch filters to get vocal sounds out of basses. So yeah, that's kind of it for the main basses. Obviously, doing everything with a separate sub. But this thing right here, the background effect. So I wanted to fill out space with it within the actual drop, and I wanted to have a bit more tension. So without this like rising sound in here, it's okay. It's a dubstep drop, but I think having this in here, this is just a sawtooth wave comb filter, super DD tuned. Cut out all the lows and then throw on some reverb. This is probably my favorite reverb, by the way. I love this thing. It sounds phenomenal and super easy. Yeah, so with this back in, it just adds this extra rising tension because I'm automating the pitch up over the course of every 4 bars. So filling out the space with that synth has been something that I've been trying to do a bit more of. Then there's this guy that I also added in here. Just more stuff rising to add some more tension. So this is just a one shot from the acapella that I ran through the sidechain, hence why I called it side acapella, and then just copied over. I took one. I think it's the word up. Chopped that out and then duplicated it, and then every time that I duplicated it, I went up quarter semitone to give that rising effect, and then crossfaded them all together. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole song. It was a super fun remix to make. If you don't follow Bad Omens, give them go check them out if you like rock or metal or anything like that. Sumerian Records, follow them. They have a ton of really awesome bands on that label, like Animals as Leaders, Asking Alexandria, Bad Omens, obviously. And if you're bored, hey, go check out my remix because I had a ton of fun making it, and you might, who knows, you might dig it. Hopefully you got something out of this. I was just kind of spitballing off the top of my head. If you have any specific questions about it, leave a comment or shoot me a message, and I'll be more than happy to dive into more in-depth sections of it. Otherwise, have a good day. Happy 2020. And yeah, peace.